works out that they're starting to fund companies. What do the panel members think about that, and do they think that's an interesting way for example, the SENS Foundation to go in the future?
Shall we go? Okay, well, I mean, you know, I agree with you. I mean, I think basically fundamental here is that the driving force has to come from the private companies. That said, you know, there is an important area here, which is that you know, universities, etc. I work at a university, are public funded, and they do a lot of work as well. So that can't be, you know, pushed to one side. That's a vital part of the equation. So once again, I come back to that point, which is that actually this works hand in hand. So, you know, I don't understand people who say, oh, it's got to be private or it's got to be, you know, public funded. Surely, you know, we're intelligent beings here. We understand that these things work hand in hand, and the best way to do it is to actually use the benefits of both those systems and push it forward.
I don't want to be misunderstood here. I'm not suggesting for a moment that private companies shouldn't press ahead with all this. Of course they should. You know, if a private company can see a market, can see an opportunity to make a return on investment, then of course that private company should fund research. And of course, if they're successful and they get there first and they obtain their patents and they own their intellectual property, then they should make a profit on that. And that's absolutely fine. What I'm suggesting is that we ought to make sure that the public sector is providing the necessary funding, the core funding, to our universities through the research councils and the higher education funding councils, to make sure that there's money available for research projects, that the Medical Research Council and the Biological Research Council, that those have sufficient funds through their committees to fund core research projects. It's about working between the two. And on that, I absolutely agree with Guy. We have to have both. We have to have the private sector delivering what it's good at. But we must not think for a moment that that means the state needs to keep its nose out. What we need is a regulatory environment which is supportive. We don't want regulations to be so tight that we can't conduct the research. I mean, if you look at the situation that we've had in the United States for the past quite a number of years, where a lot of very important research has been stalled because the government refused to allow federal funds to be used for that kind of research, I'm saying we need a much more flexible regulatory regime and public funding so that the research councils are able to fund the kinds of projects that need to take place before the private companies are prepared to make the investments in order to make a return.
Yes, also it's also important to make sure that the things that the private companies find, that after a while it's collective. And there was in 1998 a Universal Declaration on the Human Genome and Human Rights adopted by the UN, and I quote one sentence: benefits from advance in biology, genetics and medicine concerning the human genome shall be made available to all. So I think also we are living in a period of accelerating technology, and it's very important to have rules and laws to ensure that the new things that we discover are useful for everybody, and that after a while they become collective knowledge.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back on something that Darren mentioned, which is, you know, all well and good having government intervention, but frankly, I feel, and I believe most of my colleagues in the Conservative Party feel, that less government is better. So we'd like, yes, you've got to have a framework to work to and guidelines, sure, but this sort of overarching, imposed bureaucracy, frankly, we feel, and certainly I feel, doesn't work. So I'm much more in favour of letting companies get on and be creative in what they're doing, and that goes for universities as well, and less government.
But guys, we just heard from the audience there, the private companies aren't investing. They're not. I mean, that was the question. The private companies are not making the investment.
Well, part of that, the reason that's happening, particularly at the moment, as we all know, is the credit crunch, and you know, that's something that's ongoing, and hopefully, you know, we're moving forward and you know, getting out of that. But yes, I mean, I agree with you that, you know, that is a difficulty. But moving forward, hopefully the investment will start to come through, and we will make progress.
Okay. I have one roving microphone. Currently there, so
Michael Ray, the SENS Foundation. So clearly there's, I mean, if we're going to bring out non-conventional drugs and medicines, but how can either you guys take, I mean, you guys collectively as politicians take leadership and spur the public on this, or how can we spur the public to spur you guys and your senior colleagues to push this forward? Because right now, I mean, you know, there's 200 of us here, but I can tell you there aren't thousands and thousands climbing to get in the door right now. I mean, this is not, of course, a remarkably profound insight on my part. It's just like we do need a solution for it, and I'm wondering if you have any insights.
Well, look, the way we win elections as politicians is we stick leaflets through people's letterboxes. Now, I can tell you, if I wrote a leaflet, I mean, you must have seen some of these because you will get them through your letterboxes, I'm sure. If I stick a leaflet through a letterbox that says, vote for us, we're going to cure ageing, it's not going to go down terribly well. What people care about every day, they want their bins emptied, they want the dog mess cleared off the streets, they want more police on the streets, they want to see a health service that provides a good standard of care with a local hospital. And it's very difficult, I think, to communicate to an electorate of millions of people such complex ideas, such far-thinking, far-reached ideas as we're discussing here today. And so I think there has to be a balance between representing people and fairly delivering the things that they're asking for, the things like getting their bins emptied on time and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time showing some leadership. And we as political individuals will have to be bold. We are going to have to take some risks. And we are going to have to go out there and say things that some people might find difficult to accept and difficult to understand. But it's about us having, well, I hope at least, having the skill to be able to communicate those messages in the right way to bring people on board. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take a long time. You know, some of the estimates that I've seen flying around for how quickly we'll be able to do some of this, well, maybe theoretically some of the technology could be developed in a relatively short space of time. But if you want to swing round an entire nation, no, in fact an entire world of nations, to agreeing that this is a good cause and something worth doing, then I'm afraid that takes generations, not decades.
Didier?
Yes. So I will give a very short answer. My impression is that, you guys, as scientists, you're very good to study, but maybe you should go more outside to try to convince the people in charge that it's really important to make more research and to postpone aging. Because really, when I'm listening to today and the other days to the speech, is really very interesting, but there is no impact outside, or there is not a lot of impact outside this room.
I think, well, all three of us here are here because we believe in this, and we, you know, obviously this is extremely important. And I think we're all unified in working towards getting the message out there. But I mean, I had a recent experience only a couple of days ago. I was at a drinks party, mentioned coming here, and was talking about life extension, etc. And I got a raised eyebrow, and I might as well have been talking about science fiction, frankly. And you know, that's sort of what we're up against at the moment. It's because it's so new, and you guys are groundbreaking. You know, we're sort of having to come up behind it and push the message out there. And you know, Darren's absolutely right. It's going to take a long time, but the more we all push from your side and our side, and the more people we can actually convince politically, and we're all working very hard to do that, then the easier it's going to become. But yes, it's an uphill struggle, and we all need to push forward on that.
I just want to follow up on that question myself, actually. You know, working with SENS Foundation, we have a lot of conversations with varieties of people.